G'day guys, welcome back to Toolbox Talks. Today I'm back here with Jim. Thanks for coming in there, Jim.
Good, thank you, Pete.
Today we're talking about your book, Underworld Commando. It's this one right here. So if you guys want to check it out, jump onto Amazon, type in Jim Taousanis and you'll find it there. So Jim, today we've got Underworld Commando. You were meant to be killed at the Hilton.
That's correct, I was.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the book? So it's a true story by you.
Yes, it's a true story, fully written by me, a few minor edits here and there for spelling and so on. It's a story about a number of themes. So the Hilton is a big theme, so there's a big build-up to the gunfight at the Sydney Hilton Hotel. 20-shot exchange between myself and three police sergeants of the Sydney, New South Wales Armed Hold-Up Squad. Craig McDonald was one of those guys. I shot him in the arm, and Commando Fred, another guy, and I made our escape, and there was a big manhunt. The next day there was an informer, so things escalated and progressed from there, because at the same time the Wood Royal Commission was bugging everything. They were eavesdropping on everything that was going on inside Lenny McPherson's mafia organisation.
Right. Definitely sounds like an interesting story. Now, I've actually read the book, folks. It is a really good story, so make sure you jump on, download it, have a read of it. It is available in Kindle form. It's also download to print as well. But we'll just jump in and we'll have a quick flick through. I'll get you to tell me a little bit about some of the chapters.
Sure.
So in the contents here, first one starts off with a diamond heist in Pitt Street, Sydney. Now is that just the follow on to what you're saying in the intro?
Yes, that was before the gunfight, just across the road at the Hilton. So in Pitt Street, the Hilton is in Pitt Street, between George and Pitt Street in Sydney. In Pitt Street there was another robbery where another commando, so I was a commando and intelligence operative at the time for the Australian Army, and another commando there who was moonlighting and recruited by the King's Cross mob at the time. We carried out a diamond heist in Pitt Street. That was some months, I think, before the Hilton gunfight. So it's a different story there, but interestingly the book kicks off with that one because it introduces the commando theme. So the police that attended after the robbery was carried out and the diamonds were taken, they were taken by two commandos. At the same time, in response, along came the SWAT police and the TRG. And these specialised police were also commandos. So less than a week later, we're standing on the parade ground shaking hands, how you going? And these guys didn't know what was going on. So there's quite an undercurrent of mob, military operations and military recruitment for our skills by the mob for various jobs and various things that were happening in 1991 and the late 1980s.
Yeah, right. So another chapter I'd like to talk to the folks about would be Swordsmanship is for Life. Now, what's that one all about, just briefly?
That's a small condensed chapter on my martial arts background, and I'm still a martial arts teacher and a specialist in that area. Was and have been for the whole of my life. So there's a book coming out now that I'm writing, The Longest Fight, and Swordsmanship for Life is exactly that. It's the martial arts way of life is for life, and there's a development and a maturity that comes along. We're now talking 30 years after the 1991 Hilton shootout. So certain things happen along the way. I trained with various people, world champs and others. I distinguish some very, very vivid things about the martial arts, about the difference between swordsmanship, which is the real essence of martial arts, and showmanship, which is something that goes on in the world. But a lot of the special forces of today's world practice some form of martial art, one or another, or a mixture. For me, it's been a lifelong process.
Yeah, right. Okay, now we'll just take a quick jump back. You mentioned briefly before about the Army. So if you can tell us a little bit about the Army Intelligence Corps Commando and Special Forces chapter in your book.
Certainly. So that chapter traces through my military career, which spanned about 5 years. It lasted, because of an injury, around about 3 years. The first year, of course, was involved basic training and so on. I was a regular army soldier. Came out injured. I went through the infantry training as well. Came out from Singleton injured. Then a couple of years, and then I went back. When I went back, I was already allocated. So after basic training, I was awarded the Most Outstanding Soldier Award. Infantry, came out, went back after rehabilitation, and joined the 2nd Division Intelligence Corps at Randwick, where some training happened there, and a lot of insightful training for me, a lot of skills. They posted me to a commando company, the 1st Commando Company, Middlehead Mossman, and from there was another year that followed. I also went overseas. It was not active duty. It was at the time of the Iraq War when we were just kicking off there, yeah, just between Desert Storm and Desert Shield. So that's very late 1980s, and 1991 I went overseas. So it covers all of that, and then covers current day military intelligence as well, which leads into another chapter further on the intelligence chapter.
Yeah, right. Awesome. Sounds like it's very interesting career too.
It is.
All right, now the guts of the book, Gunfight at the OK Hilton. You touched on it briefly. Would you like to expand a little more, or are you happy with?
Sure. Yeah, no, I certainly can. So 2 commandos there were in the process of an armed robbery at the strong room of the Hilton Hotel in Sydney. Commando Fred and myself, and we tripped an alarm. At that point in time, there were 3 police laying wait. These guys were part of the New South Wales Armed Hold-Up Squad, the very controversial New South Wales Armed Hold-Up Squad, to which Roger Rogerson, the killer cop, belonged prior to this, and certain allegations, charges, various things had happened in there. There were undercover police shot. That squad had quite a history, and I get into a gunfight with 3 of these guys. So it's 1 against 3. Commander Fred didn't fire a shot. He came running through some fire later on, and we made our escape from that point. The gunfight itself, I describe it in detail. It's a very heavy. It was nothing like the police described. So I then go, there's more that follows where there's verbals, and a police verbal is when they make up a story and say, you said this and this and this and this, and so on. And on top of all that, of course, the National Crime Authority Federal Police were recording these events. There were wiretaps everywhere, and that was the basis and the foundation for the formation of the Woodrow Commission in the mid-1990s. A lot of things happened there.
Yeah, right. It is definitely an intense read. If you give it a read, folks. All right, now onto the chapter. If murder sticks. Now this has a fair bit of controversy surrounding yourself, and there's like a lot of interviews and stuff that are online that you can find for yourself. But can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Sure. So I was charged with murder just as I was about to walk out of the prison system, and over a period of years, the informers became there's a difference between an informer and an informant. An informant gives evidence on something that he's a part of, or some case. An informer is somebody who walks up and says, look, I'll tell you something about someone. So anyway, we had a whole heap of new informers popping up out of the woodwork year after year, because I had gotten into a pretty bad fight with the mafia and the people that worked for them. So
they were just trying to set you up?
It definitely was a setup. So, the first trial, there were 2 trials. The first trial was a hung jury. I didn't kill Peter Mitras, that's the missing architect who was involved in drugs and a bunch of other people. I was an enforcer, and that was my job. Not that I didn't know roughly what was going on, but I didn't have direct involvement in what was going on at that time. Right. This guy disappears, they charge me. Informers come out of the woodwork. One trial is hung jury because I couldn't bring out all my past, other things like the Pitt Street Diamond heist. In between the 2 trials, I'm shot in the back. And I flatline and lose a lung, and I'm dead, I'm clinically dead, brought back to life, quite an interesting way as well. Yep. And second trial, immediately, judge only, I'm acquitted immediately.
Yeah, right. All right, now on to the final chapter. Final chapter is Intel, Secrets and Revelations. Now that works really well in conjunction with the appendixes and that sort of stuff, which we'll talk about at a later date. But can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Certainly. So Intel is the second last chapter, and Secrets and Revelations. So I uncover a lot of secrecy that this nation and the Western nations and some of the Eastern nations and various Middle East and so on is shrouded in. No one's allowed to know these things, especially in the general public. You can know, but don't tell anybody. So I shed some light on that. That was my work. I was involved in a special place, a special purpose prison. I was RFID chipped by various organisations, and I reveal many things that are going on in the world currently as well, and give you a bit of a background so that I've simplified it and anybody can understand it. And I really believe that this nation needs to know those things. In fact, that chapter is the reason why I came out of the shadows to write the book.
Yeah, right. Fantastic. Definitely sounds like you're going to help a lot of people. Now, where can people go to find out more about your work? I mentioned before Amazon under Jim Taousanis, but is there anything else that you've got?
Certainly. I've got a lot of, there are many YouTubes at the moment. There's this book and two other books, my two fitness books. This is Underworld Commando. There are two Never Better books. They are fitness books and they're already out. They're all available on Amazon. They're all available on Kindle, and we're currently making audio books out of those as well. So they'll be available soon. My martial arts specialization book, that's called The Longest Fight, and that's on the way, so that's coming along. Look me up on YouTube. You'll find a whole heap of material. It's very succinct, down to about 4-6 minute little short clips that tell you a lot of things, and I exhibit some of my martial arts skills and some of my students as well on those.
All right, Jim, that's about all we got time for today, but it's Jim, J-I-M, Taousanis, Taousains.
N-I-S.
That one.
Sin spelled backwards. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.